Hi everyone, Shalom to Derech Podcast. My name is Noam and I'm the Israeli Shlicha here in Nashville, Tennessee. Derech is a journey in Hebrew, and we are here to listen and get inspired by people's stories and also get to know our amazing community. We have a very special guest with us today on the first episode, Emily Camperi.
Hi.
I will let her introduce herself in a minute, but before that, I would love to say that Emily is not just helped me with the inspiration for the podcast. She's a really good friend and an inspiring person. So thank you so much that you are with us today.
Oh, thanks, Noam. I'm so happy and excited to be here.
I wanted to ask you, what story did you choose? What derech did you choose to tell us today, and why?
So a little bit about me. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina originally, but I've lived in Nashville for the last 2 years. And I work at Vanderbilt Hillel. So we've got some fun opportunities to work with Noam. But last year, at work, I was taking a little walk around the block to break up my long work day. And it was post high holidays, post Sukkot. I normally get to oversee the holiday, so I was just really tired. And I'm walking, and suddenly I ran into a pole and hit my forehead really hard. And what ended up happening, I didn't know it at the time, but I ended up getting a concussion from walking into a pole.
How did you feel that moment? What happened?
I was kind of in shock. I guess you could describe it as like, in a way, I felt like the wind got knocked out of me. But I kept walking and I did my whole like 30-minute loop and was just like, I think something might be wrong. Like, should I be worried? I'm not sure. Came back to the building, put some ice on my head, talked to our Israel fellow Sarah at the time, and we were kind of laughing because this is like, I ran into a pole, like what? And I called my parents and they were like, you should probably go to the emergency room. And I was like, I don't know if that's necessary. And I think everyone I was around kind of talked me out of it. And I stayed at the building for two more meetings. And then before I went home, I was like, Sarah, I think I want to go to the ER. And I was just trying to talk myself out of the worst case scenario, but was confirmed by the really cute ER doctor that I probably had a minor concussion and I needed to just go home and rest.
Yeah, and I feel like the way you're telling the story just show how optimistic you are and how you look back at it. But how did you felt at that moment? And I mean, you and Sarah, it's the most optimistic duo. But how did you feel when you realized you had a concussion?
I think lots of things were going through my head, but I'm not gonna lie. The first thing that I was thinking about was, oh my God, I'm signed up for a 6:30 p.m. spin class tomorrow night, and I'm gonna have to cancel it. So
what happened with the class?
I canceled the spin class, and I spent the next day like in my bed, lights out, like water, podcast, nothing with screens, and kind of just like, okay, let's chill. I will heal from this in like a few days. Let's take it easy. Let's not push it. Let's do some arts and crafts and some magazine cutout vision boards. And that's what I did for a few days.
What was the change when you felt like it's a real challenge?
Yeah. So I think the thing with concussions is that you don't really know how long they are going to take to heal. And the doctor was like, just lay low for a few days and I think you'll be out of the woods soon. But the thing with the concussions, if you like push it a little bit, that sets you back like 5 more days or 10 more days or whatever. And so I struggled for months just trying to find a balance of like retraining my brain to get used to a screen or to get used to reading. But if you push it like a little bit too much, if you read for 5 more minutes or spend like 5 more minutes on your phone, then it's like, oh my God, the worst headache ever. Or just wanting to go out and do things with people or wanting to go to a restaurant and then the restaurant is too loud. And I ended up getting like, I definitely had some fear attached to like, if I go do this, how much is it going to set me back? So it ended up being like a 4-month process.
Wow.
I didn't fully heal until February-ish after like a month of physical therapy. So it was a really wild journey.
The effects of it sounds really fascinating and difficult, not just in the physical aspect, but in the mind and in the social aspect, because we get our energy from our people and from friends, and just to get nervous to go to a restaurant or see for a coffee. We talk about last year, 2020 is a whole different story, but still we live on screens. So what was your breaking point? Did you had a moment that you felt like, I can't do this anymore? And also, did you had a moment when you said, I can do this, I can do everything, I'm inspired, I want to move forward and just take care of the situation?
Yeah, good question. In terms of breaking points, I especially like, I'm the kind of person that gets energy from being around people, and my job is interacting with people and building relationships. And that was something that I was really good about. I was really bad about pushing myself a little bit further to be able to have conversations with students or with friends. And when I couldn't do that, I definitely had days where I was like, I literally have no reason to get up in the morning. And that was weird. And I've never felt like that. But I was able to have like a lot of time with myself and with my thoughts. And I think we're all constantly learning what it means to slow down. But I especially started to learn like what slowing down meant to me and looked like at that time in my life, and what it meant to unplug, and so much patience, because it's just a waiting game and you don't know when the end is going to be. So I started to just kind of appreciate the little things, focus on the little things. I went on a lot of walks and called different people. So those were some highlights.
Yeah, this is a part of the journey. I'm just really fascinated on how physical therapy for concussion looks like, if you want to share.
Yeah. I was really surprised by this also, because I ended up getting an awesome doctor, Dr. West, the best.
Shout out to Dr. West.
She also had a concussion. And so she was like, oh, I feel for you. And also that was the first time I actually had to get like a primary care provider in Nashville after living here for 2 years. But physical therapy is good because if you think about it, when you hit your head hard enough, something in your neck, like something in your body had to move, and it's in your neck and your shoulders. So if you think about it just in general, like we carry a lot of stress in our shoulders, especially now when we're working from home and we're looking at a screen all day, like, and we get headaches by doing that if we do it for too much. So a lot of my concussion physical therapy was strengthening the neck area, strengthening my shoulders and my back, and stretching, like just my taking my head to the right side of my shoulder and feeling that stretch. And the same thing on the left. And then also like breathing mechanisms and meditation, because I had a lot more anxiety than normal just from like, am I going to get a headache if I do this? So breathing was also key. And my concussion physical therapist, also very cute. So I loved going there every day.
We just love to find the positive in every situation. Apparently doctors in Nashville are cute. So write down.
Everybody come to Nashville.
I wanted to ask you for the podcast, but as a friend, how you feel today, and yeah, how are you feeling?
Yeah, so it's actually really interesting because it's almost been a year since this happened. It happened early November, so we're about 11 months ago, which is crazy to think about how much has happened in my life since this. But I also have recently like been, I mean, there's a lot of stress and anxiety in the world. So I'm feeling stress and anxiety for various different things. And I'm also highly aware of any kind of pole that I'm walking by at this time. I'm like, you cannot do this again. You will not run into a pole. Head up. Don't text and walk. No one should text and walk. That's been interesting because it hasn't been on my mind as much like in the last 6 months. But now it's like, this was a year ago. Like, you're tired. Like, slow down.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that. It sounds like a very challenging experience. When I hear you and I hear the story, I feel like it was just some sort of like awakening for you saying, okay, I need to slow down. What did you learn from this experience about yourself, about anything?
Yeah. I feel like I could write a book at this point about all of the things I learned from a concussion.
I will definitely be your number one fan and buy the book and read it in English, even if it's difficult for me.
I'll read it to you. Yeah, really good question. And it's interesting that you say like it seems like this has been an awakening, because like I wish I didn't have to experience a concussion, but I am thankful for.
Me too. I wish you hadn't had to experience.
Yeah, I'm thankful for what I've learned along the way. My friend Spencer actually made a sticker out of one of my magazine vision board art projects that I did week 1 of being concussed. And it was a bunch of different words and letters that I had cut out from magazines. And it said, wow, things I learned from being concussed. Slow down, unplug, or be unplugged, and patience. So it kind of looks like the front cover of the Mean Girls burn book for visual, but I thought it was fun, and he saw it. He was like, I'm gonna make a sticker out of it. But those are definitely like the first 3 lessons I learned. Like, obviously slowing down. I think we all live in a world where like the world just moves so fast and we feel like we have to be going all the time. And if we do that, we will crash and we will not be our best selves in whatever situation. And it's really hard to rest and give ourselves permission to do that. But rest is the only thing that we can do to like restore and re-energize ourselves. And I'm still constantly learning and relearning what slowing down and rest looks like in my life. But I don't want this to happen again. So resting is crucial. Also unplugging. Like, I couldn't be on my phone. I couldn't be on my computer. And social media, as great as it is for many things, it's also like toxic and it wastes your time. And there are so many other things that we can do with that time. So interesting enough, like I also couldn't read. I read like 2 chapters of the book and then I got a terrible headache and I was like, this sucks. And since then, I've read 19 books in the year of 2020, which has never happened in my entire life.
So happy for you.
But I have an appreciation for reading because at one point I wasn't able to read. But I did listen to 1,000,001 audiobooks. I listened to all 7 Harry Potters. Would definitely recommend the audiobook. So I was able to just kind of like appreciate those little things. And reading, I feel, is just something that like actually truly brings me joy now. And I would have never said that a year ago. I also learned that the world doesn't end if you don't work out every day. That was something I was really anxious about in the beginning. Like, I was just like, what if I gain weight, or what if I just am depressed because I can't sweat or can't get my heart rate up? And like, walking is just fine, and it does the same thing. And I ate when I was hungry, and I stopped when I was full, and like I honestly probably became like way more in touch with my body than normal because I was slowing down enough to listen to what it needed. And like, it didn't need to do a high intensity spin class because I was going to get a headache. So, I think even reflecting now, like the pressure that I used to put on myself to work out as much in a certain way or work out a certain way, I've been able to find a much nicer balance, which is cool.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask about sport, because you're a really active person, and how it affect your mind, and also yeah.
Well, I think thinking about high points, once I was finally getting over the hump and I was like recognizing how the physical therapy was paying off, and when I was able to, like, one of my goals of physical therapy was to start going back to spin class, because that was also something that I was scared to do because the music is loud and that would give me a headache. And so one of the things we did in physical therapy was just me running on the treadmill and monitoring my heart rate. So like slowly increasing the speed every 2 minutes and seeing what my heart rate was at when I started to get a headache. And so slowly working up towards like 150, 160, 170 to eventually not getting that headache. So once I started noticing strides and progress, and just starting to feel better and feel more like myself, was like, okay, Emily, like, you're getting out of the woods, and that's awesome. So yeah, sports, fitness, moving, like movement. I think it's something I've always loved, and there are so many different ways to practice self-care. But I think for me, physical self-care is like my go-to. I know, like, if I'm feeling down, like, a run is going to help. Just going on a walk is going to help. It's going to just turn my mood around, unless it's a day where like I really need to rest, and like I probably should listen to that rest. But for me, it's just like, I don't know. To me, it's like a high, especially a spin class.
Absolutely. I completely agree. With all the tips you said, again, it's just, it doesn't apply just for a specific difficult situation. I feel like it's applied to what we're experiencing today, and every difficult situation. And point about learning how to slow down, I feel like it's the most difficult practice I have done, and I'm still doing.
I think we're always relearning and learning and unlearning how to slow down. And super interesting, like, it's very interesting to reflect and see how I learned these things like November, December, January, February-ish last year. And then March, the world took this like flipped a switch and turned over. And I originally thought like, oh, like this pandemic, it's going to be an opportunity for everyone to learn how to slow down. And I think we had like maybe a month of like, okay, if we're lucky and fortunate enough to like have things work out where like you could slow down and maybe spend time with your family or just like recognize those little things. It was nice. And then like we got tired of being slow and the world totally sped up again. And it's really interesting to see how that played out.
Yeah, your tips just spoke to my heart, and I cannot agree more. I wanted, just as the icing on the cake for this amazing episode, if you have any podcasts that you would like to recommend.
Yes, I am a big fan of Brene Brown's Unlocking Us podcast. She started it kind of midway through the pandemic, but she has like she has some episodes of just her giving advice or talking about life, or vulnerability is her thing. But then she also has really awesome guests. So if you are a fan of Little Fires Everywhere, she has an episode where she interviews the author, as well as an episode with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington, who star in the Hulu series. So it's just a feel good podcast. And I also just like learn from her, and she has a really soothing voice. So would definitely recommend that one.
Soothing voice is everything on the podcast. And I like with my Hebrew accent. I love it. I wanted to say a huge thank you to Emily. Keep doing your amazing work in the community and just spread light everywhere. And I'm just so happy that you're happy and healthy, because this is what's important. And I know we learn our lessons from sometimes the difficult situations in life. But I was so inspired to hear your stories and see how you cope with this difficult situation, and you're just the best.
Thank you. I'm so thankful for the opportunity, and it's really like you're super easy to talk to about this stuff, so it's fun to be able to like talk about this out loud and see. I hope that like what I've learned from my experience can resonate with other people, and that we all kind of continue to practice rest and slowing down and appreciate and finding those the things that we appreciate, the little things.
So much love going on through Zoom.
So much love.
Thank you everyone for listening, and I will see you at the next episode. Bye.
Bye.